DegloireSpace signing in. Do you ever wonder why people who are emotionally unavailable, distant, unattainable, they seem more the one that we want? And the one who comes up to us and is loving and offers us everything, that person, you know what, that's not love. Why is it that we do that to ourselves and then we put ourselves through one difficult situation after the next? We never seem to feel that spark to someone who gives us love. Always we feel that spark to someone who's given us a hard time. Where is this coming from? Why are we doing all that? And then to make things worse, we get told, hey, you're broken. You need therapy. You're just sabotaging yourself. And we look at it and we're like, am I? But I'm not feeling it for that person, for the other person. I'm only feeling it for the one who gives me the headache. Could it be that we've formed an idea that love is something that's distant? Love is tough. Love is unattainable. Love has to be complex. There has to be a drama in this. I mean, think about it. When you're trying to get to know a girl or a guy, if a girl gives herself too easily, you start thinking, something must be wrong with her. Or if a man, offers himself to you so easily, or is offering too many things, you start looking at him like, he must be desperate. So we end up building our lives out, especially dating lives, around games. If you give her this much, she's going to think bad of you. If you give him that much, he's going to think bad of you. And we're always then doing that until we fall into it. And we also have that if somebody stays, we don't really want that person. And if someone runs, hey, chase them. That's real love. That's where it is. That's where it's at. Once you've asked these questions to yourself, can you ignore that it's got to do something with how we define it? Is it really like that outside? Where did these ideas come from? Why is it we're not satisfied unless there's a chase? The cat and mouse. Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. It's like when you hear someone say, I don't know why, but I'm so drawn to that person. I don't know, I just feel a spark. Now notice all the I don't knows there. That's the unconscious. And I just feel a spark. I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm just drawn to it. That's the fate. That's that power that's pushing you in. Now that spark could be familiarity. Not a conscious familiarity. It's like in your back of the mind, you're not aware of this. And that's why we always say you don't know yourself. And we need to know ourselves, because if we don't, we're going to keep repeating these patterns that are just going to get us into one ditch after the next. And before we know, we're going to be like, what happened to my life? What is familiarity? Now you have familiarity that you're conscious about and you have it that you're not conscious about. The one that you're not conscious about is like this pattern that's settled in your brain. And then what happens to you is you've seen it so many times that you acknowledge it. You know, this is where I belong. This is what I know. Even if you don't like it, it's familiar. What's that saying? Better the devil you know. It's like, I'm willing to handle a bad situation because I'm familiar with it. At least I know what that feels like. And that's just you repeating patterns, but you're unaware of it. Now you see, where could this pattern have come from? Now, there's many places. If we're going to go by the Jungian or Freudian, we're going to basically most likely look at when you're a kid. Now you see, when you're a parent or your parents, they love you, but there's a part of parenting that's based on survival. It's not all about affection and love. And, I don't know the situation that you grew up in. Parents get stressed. They're not always present for their kids. And, I know that there's a lot of movement now towards waking parents up to give this, but we're human at the end of the day. We're never, look, maybe this is my negativity, but I don't think we'll ever get this right. There's never going to be a perfect model. All of us are going to have some challenges and then some things that we're going to face with our parents. I mean, it's normal between human beings, and your parents are human beings. If you grew up in a place or in a family home where one of your parents, or maybe both or whatever, was a little bit distant, tense, anxious, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to gain their attention. You start equating love to that hard work you're putting in just to gain attention. And that pattern sits in there, keeps going, and you don't know it's running your life. And worse than just sitting here, it sits in our whole body, how we feel, how we tense up, all of that, the body has its own memory. And so we reach a particular logic. This must be love. I have to work for it. I have to earn it. Come your life, somebody likes you. Somebody literally, genuinely sees you and like, man, I really like this person. And then they offer you that love without that game. You're going to be like, no, that can't be it. It's too easy. This is not the way it works. And vice versa. When you meet the other type, the one that's going to test you out, you're like, hey, of course, this is not a voice inside here. This is like deep in your brain dictating your actions. There's a voice in there going, hey, this feels familiar. This is home. This is what love looked like. So your choice ends up being, it's not because it's good that you chose it. It's because it's what you know. An example, you meet a woman or a date and they give you 5% attention, 5%, and then they disappear. Logic says you should walk away. But instead, you become obsessed. And you start asking, wow, what's happening? What's going on? And your whole body goes into this anxiety and you become more and more attached to this. And in that situation of obsession, you become very manipulatable. Is that how you say it? And why? It's because you're repeating that pattern that when you're a kid, you're just repeating that pattern and you're thinking maybe this time the outcome is going to be different. Maybe if I work extra hard, I'll finally get picked. I'll finally get chosen. Something that Jung taught was that many people think they're making a conscious choice. They think. In reality, they're just acting from a wound, or they're just repeating a pattern. So what you're calling a choice is actually just a pattern that you have learned. And if you're not conscious of it, you just keep repeating it thinking, hey, why am I not getting what I need? And the problem with patterns is we don't choose them, we inherit them. They're based on what we've observed, what we've seen other people do, how we've seen other people treat us, especially at that age where we're very programmable. Of course, we keep being programmable for a long time, but a big part of it is when we're kids. And this is the thing, if we don't question our patterns, we start assuming that those patterns are us. In reality, we've just inherited this. It's like we've seen an actor and we're just taking that role and we start thinking that role must be me. And it's not you. And this is where the idea of self-knowledge is so important. It's probably the most valuable thing you can do for yourself, anybody can do for themselves. If you don't know yourself, you're going to utter a lot of sentences and you don't even know what you mean by it. For example, you say, I like strong, independent people, people who aren't clingy. What you really mean is, I feel strong around people who are not going to ask me to be vulnerable. I need people who are distant because those people, I don't have to be vulnerable with them. And that's because vulnerability exposes us. We don't want to be exposed. We've learned to hide those things for ages. And those wounds a lot of times become core staples in who we are. I mean, let's take an example. Somebody texts you and says to you, just thinking about you. And you kind of like look at it like, ugh. But if it's someone who's emotionally unavailable to you and they message you the same message, you'll be like, oh, it's so sweet. It means a lot to you. Same message, just the one that's unavailable, it meant more to you. An example, someone who's kind and like predictable messages you. You look at their message and you're like, oh, cringy. And you may not even reply to it for a while. Whereas someone who you messaged and then 3 days later they message you back, you see that message, you're like so happy. Oh, look, she messaged me back or he messaged me back. And you feel this is chemistry. This is what it all is. Don't kid yourself. It's not chemistry. That's your conditioning. And these patterns are so predictable that the whole notion of game now is based on it. Hey, ignore her for 2 days. Don't reply to her messages straight away. Oh, don't reply to him today because if you do, he's going to think he's going to think that you are too available or you're too desperate for him, or vice versa. If you reply to a male too quickly, or if you're a male and a girl messages you, hey, don't reply to her straight away. She can't think that she has to think that you're unavailable. It's become such a pattern. I think one day human beings are going to look at this and they're going to go, we can't believe that this was part of our history. Jung made a distinction between something he calls the persona and something he calls the self. Persona is basically your personality as observed. Yeah, I'm a chill guy, I'm low maintenance, and I'm the strong one. The self is who you really are beneath it all. And until you start searching in that, searching beneath the personality, you know, what makes you feel that you have to be chill? What makes you feel that you have to dress a certain way? Those external things, what drives them? Sometimes life is going to force you to look at those things. Sometimes life is going to wrestle you down. It's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to knock you out. And you're in that knockout, you're going to start looking at the drivers. There's nothing you can do when life chooses it. We'd rather go by ourselves. We'd rather, make that conscious decision to say, you know what, I'm going to search. I'm going to do it. You'd rather do that. Unfortunately, though, it's the opposite that usually happens. But when it comes to dating, for example, you will not know what drives your actions and reactions until you do this deeper search. You'll go from, that's who I'm attracted to, hey, this person validates my pain. And I'm not talking good validation. They validate my pain by putting me in a painful situation. You'll go from that to being able to see what you're doing, saying, hey, man, I know what pattern I'm in. I'm seeing this pattern. It's important to see that because a lot of us just think, oh, my personality, that's who I am. But it's not. Your personality is just an outside. It's like the packaging. Remember, you're not a product. You're a process. There is one problem though. Just because you know your pattern, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to break away from it straight away. And this is one of the big critiques of like people like, those early psychologists. A lot of them used to think that, you see it, change it. It's not always that straightforward. The patterns are much more deep-rooted than just, I see it. Your whole body has learned these behaviors. You can't just say, now that I see it, I can pick better people. I'm going to feel sparked for that one. Doesn't happen. Awareness is just the first point. It's the first point to breaking a pattern. It's kind of like, when you're a kid and you see a horror film and you get so scared. And then as you grow up a little bit older, you've heard that this is all acting. Look how they do the makeup, and you've seen all that kind of thing. Suddenly, the next time you watch that horror film, you're kind of like, okay, I can see there's a bit of acting there. Yeah, you might get scared, but now there's a bit of that. There's a problem in what you're seeing. You know that what you're seeing is not it. And then you start slowly taking the fear out of it. And now when you're in the moment and you can see this pattern, suddenly you're not as trapped by it. And this is what Jung calls the integration of the shadow. It's basically owning what was once unconscious, because the shadow is all the things that we've put aside, we don't want to see. And at that point, you kind of start giving your system a reboot. Let's give an example. Next time you talk to somebody and then they ghost you. You feel anxiety, you feel like an emotional, you don't know what you're going to do. You're so emotional. You might just grab the text another one. Try to capture their attention with another thing. Send another one. They must, send them something sweet, something tough, whatever. You start just spiraling out of control. Instead of doing that, pause and start asking yourself questions. The anxiety you're going to feel is going to be next level, but you're going to be, hold on, I've seen this pattern before. And then at that point, we start rewiring. We start rewiring by asking ourselves relevant questions. Like, why do I feel bored with people who are good to me? Does romance and anxiety equate to each other? What does being emotionally safe mean? How does it look like? Describe it. Have you seen it in a movie? Have you seen it somewhere? It may feel boring at the start to do something like that, but once the reboot happens, you'll know it's worth it. And so ultimately we come to healing. Healing does not mean you become something else. Healing just means you're coming home to yourself. You're basically going back to the root of who you are. You're grabbing all that extra layers and dust and just taking them off and saying, hey, okay, I've identified with this, but this is not me. This is a programming that was placed on me. This is not me. This is a conditioning placed on me. And you go to the core of who you are. That's where you experience your real self-worth, where you experience your real beauty, where you know you're actually unaffected by these things. You can't have your life run by somebody who's emotionally unwell and they're throwing these patterns onto you, and then you're going to run your life on that kind of anxiety. Is this what you would accept for your self-worth? And so here we come to the question, who are you really? You're not your patterns. You're not your childhood programming. And you're not that chase for validation. Whatever you're chasing for validation, that's also that thing that's going to get validated. That's even that thing is not you. Why? Because you're the one who noticed all of that. Jung says, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you are. It takes courage to do that, because a lot of times we're so entangled in those things that people have defined us to be that we feel naked without it. And yeah, it is that. And remember, real love doesn't require a chase. Yeah, there's a little fun chase in the start, a little fun one. And there's a big difference between a fun chase and a toxic chase. Fun one. And in the fun chase, you are not humiliated. You are still respectful. You're respected and your worth is kept. The question is, what in me still calls this thing love? And if I stopped answering the call to those kind of energy wasters, will who I am feel different? And if this made you reflect, hit subscribe, hit like. And we don't like to search things surface level here. We want to go deep, deep, deep. We want to feel challenged by what we do. DegloireSpace signing out.